Experimental cooking night of baby back ribs. Let's see what works and what doesn't. I usually arrange my coals in a snake-like pattern and light the tail end of that pattern so the hot coals slowly light the unlit coals to help keep the heat low. But tonight, I'm covering the coal grate entirely to see how well the summit's vents control the heat. I'm using chunks of apple and pecan wood for smoke. The first chunk of wood is right on top of the gas assist charcoal lighter to get the smoke started right away. I've also covered my diffuser plate with aluminum foil to protect it, and I'm using a couple of pans to catch the drippings. Usually I put Coca-Cola, like maybe half a can, in those pans to add moisture to the heat, but tonight I'm trying it without it. Now I'm going to pull off the membrane of the baby back ribs and season it with John Henry's pecan rub. This is also the first time I've used the Weber rib rack when I'm smoking ribs. I choke down the top vent about halfway, and I set the bottom vent to the smoking section. Now it's 250. It's really easy to control the heat on that Weber Charcoal Summit. I'm also cooking some pork shoulders on my 22-inch smoker, which has been a really good smoker for me over the years. Wait, one hour into cooking, I get some smoke. 2 hours into cooking, okay, now we got some more smoke. And now I'm going to wrap the ribs in a foil. Now this helps speed up the cooking process. And the foil pans that I put down to catch the drippings, I'm now going to use the drippings on the ribs. I'm going to pour some of it on each of the racks as a braising liquid and put the ribs back on for another 2 hours. Now, when you open up the grill, the temperature rises, but luckily the vents help it get down to 250 where I want to keep it the whole time. So it's really important for me to keep my lid down in order to keep the heat down. Now, this is 4 hours into cooking. They're pretty tender. They separate pretty easily, but they're not falling off the bone because I don't want them to fall off the bone. I want to do something called the bite test. Now, the bite test is when you could take one bite off the rib with the tug, and all the meat does not come off with it. That's kind of my goal for these ribs. And now is the time where I take the braising liquid from the foil, and I brush it back on the ribs to glaze them. And I'm also going to squirt some honey on them and brush that on to make them sweeter. Usually you want to hold off with your sugar until the end of your cook because it will burn. Now this is the Summit Charcoal Grill, and I was thinking as I was doing this, hey, this is a smoker and a grill. Why don't I just take off the diffuser plate and then use it for a grill? So why not? So I grabbed some hot pads, and I try to pull it off. It's a little bit slippery, but I finally got it off. There's got to be an easier way for that. I'll figure that out. Get my tiny hoe out and spread out the coals a little bit to get a more even heat. Now I got a little more heat going there. That's pretty much what I wanted. I could tell that the ends are a little bit darker than the center, and I think that's because the meat went past the diffuser plate. But they turned out pretty good anyhow. They're very tender, tasty, and I was pretty pleased with these ribs. I hope this made you hungry.